Hello and welcome to Between the 20s, the official podcast of the Sports Business Association. Today, we're discussing Week 8 start-sit decisions in fantasy football. Amir, how are you feeling Week 8 coming up?
I'm feeling good, almost at the halfway point of the NFL season. Of course, a little bit more than halfway through the fantasy regular season, so looking good.
We're also coming off a great Monday night for you.
Yeah, big time. Go Patriots. Of course, we're playing the Jets, so that's not a huge deal, but a lot of 4 turnovers, I think, from Sam Darnold. It might have been 6. I don't exactly remember, but yeah.
Is that a ghost?
I'm not Sam Darnold. I don't see ghosts. Maybe you are.
Maybe.
You are the New Yorker, so
Throwing off my back.
maybe just all New Yorkers are seeing ghosts. Yeah, who knows?
All right, anyway, we got a lot of questions for you today, coming at you very quick, but we'll start with our first one, 12-team PPR League. Listener has a wide receiver 2 question. They're asking whether they should start DJ Moore of the Panthers, who are taking on the 49ers this week, or Golden Tate, whose New York Giants are taking on the Detroit Lions. What do you think, Amir?
So for me, I think this just comes down to the matchup that these two guys have. For DJ Moore, he's playing the Niners defense, and as we've seen, this is a legit defense, legit top 5, maybe even top 3 defense in the NFL. That front 4, that front 7 is going to give Kyle Allen a lot of trouble in this game. So I think the passing game is going to take a hit. So I'm not going to go DJ Moore. I'm going to go Golden Tate. The Lions have given up a good amount of fantasy points. If you watched last week, Stephon Diggs and Adam Thielen both had good games against the Lions. Of course, the week before that, Aaron Rodgers played well against them as well. So this secondary and their pass defense has been kind of rough recently. So I'm going with Golden Tate. I think he's had 2 good games in a row, so I think he's going to make it 3 with Daniel Jones delivering in those balls. Mike, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with you on that one there. I mean, the Lions are the 17th best defense, 17th best defense when it comes to giving up fantasy points to wide receivers. The 49ers are the second stingiest defense when it comes to giving up points to wide receivers, fantasy points to wide receivers. And I think even though DJ Moore is the number 1 option, and he's been a pretty solid option all year, I'd say, I do think that Golden Tate is your better play this week.
Yeah, and it looks like Bryce agrees. He can't join us today for this episode, but makes it a clean sweep. The 3 of us, your 3 analysts here, are picking Golden Tate over DJ Moore for this.
Yes. Anyway, next question comes from an 8-team PPR league. We have a wide receiver 2 question yet again. They're wondering, our man out in Minnesota, Stephon Diggs, very big, lot of mentions on the podcast. They're wondering if they should start him against the Redskins. That's tonight, Thursday night. Or Robert Woods, who's playing against Cincinnati.
Yeah, so for me, these are both good players, of course, and they have both good matchups. The Redskins, of course, one of the worst teams in football, and Cincinnati as well, just garbage. Both of these teams are barely even NFL teams at this point, 2 of the worst 3 teams in the league. So I think there's going to be a lot of offense from both of these, from the Vikings and the Rams. But for me, I think I'm going to go with Stephon Diggs, just simply because Adam Thielen has been ruled out for this game. Stephon Diggs is going to get most of the volume. And even though he's going to get a lot of defensive attention, I think he's good enough to beat those corners in Washington. So for me, Stephon Diggs this week, he's going to follow up 2 great weeks with a 3rd as well, similar to Golden Tate. 3 weeks in a row, I'm rolling with Stephon Diggs in this case.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with Diggs, especially with that Thielen injury. I think that Diggs is your best play just because he might be seeing a large amount of those receptions, and Kirk Cousins has been on fire recently in the last 2 weeks. So I like that Minnesota offense all of a sudden, at least a little bit more from the passing side than before. Obviously, Dalvin Cook is still just phenomenal for all fantasy owners. So that one answers that question. Bryce also mailed in. Stephon Diggs is the pick for our boy from New Jersey. Anyway, heading on to the next question, we have another 12-team PPR question. This person has a flex problem, and they do have a problem with the flex. They're trying to decide whether they should start star tight end O.J. Howard at Tennessee or Mike Williams, whose Chargers are charging into Chicago this week. We got to watch out for that, by the way. Those Chargers are coming in hot.
Yeah, this is tough for me. Both of these guys have not had great seasons. Of course, Mike Williams has had some injury struggles. This Chargers offense is really not doing great. The only really startable guys on this Chargers offense are Austin Eckler and Keenan Allen. Of course, Hunter Henry coming back as well. So out of those 3 guys, I don't really think you can start anyone. But also, how do you start O.J. Howard here? This is bizarre to me. This is a tough decision. I guess bye weeks hit this guy pretty hard. But for me, just because Mike Williams is playing against Chicago, the Bears defense is, of course, really good, top 5. I am going with O.J. Howard. Give me the juice. I never really thought I would say that about O.J. Howard, especially at this point in the season. But yeah, I'm taking O.J. Howard reluctantly, especially because O.J. has that injury. He's got a hamstring injury. He didn't practice on Thursday, so if he doesn't play, of course, I guess you got to roll with Mike Williams. But if O.J. Howard's active, I don't like it at all, but give me the juice. O.J. Howard this week for me.
You know what's worse than O.J. Howard last week?
O.J. Howard this week.
An injured O.J. Howard this week. Absolutely. You can't put him in your lineup in a sane way, I think. It's really tough. I mean, he's just putting up goose eggs. He did beat out Noah Fant, though, in our question from last week.
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago. But that's basically the only thing he's beaten all season, except for the Giants, where he put up 9 points a few weeks ago. That's really it. You got to go Mike Williams here. The Bears' defense is good, but he's still the number 2 target, out there behind Keenan Allen. But, I mean, they have to get some offense going. And when they do, they're turning to Allen and their number 2 right here, Mike Williams. So that's who I have to go with. Very tough question, though.
Yeah.
And Bryce, phoning in from New Jersey, has put Mike Williams down as well. So that makes it 2 out of 3.
Bryce breaks the tie. I am on the opposite side of these two guys. I don't like this pick at all, but O.J. Howard's my guy, as I said.
Next question comes from a 12-team half PPR league. It's a flex question, but they do have 2 wide receivers here. Marvin Jones, whose Lions are taking on the Giants, or Corey Davis, whose Titans are going up against Tampa Bay.
Yeah, so unlike the last one, I think both of these guys are pretty solid options, which is a little bit weird. Marvin Jones has been pretty much invisible until last week. And Corey Davis, we told you to drop him after week 1. So between these two guys, both kind of off your radar, but kind of back in after some solid weeks in the past couple weeks. And, of course, good matchups. But for me, I'm going to go with Marvin Jones. The Giants are just not a good team. Simple as that. Sorry, Mike. Sorry, Bryce, if you're watching. Hopefully you are. You're watching your own podcast. But, yeah, Marvin Jones against these Giants, I think he's going to have a solid day. Of course, as you saw last week, he's got the upside of 4 touchdowns. Just an insane day last week. And Corey Davis, I don't know what to say about the Titans' offense. They got rid of their starting quarterback. They're moving into Ryan Tannehill, who's never been a great quarterback. And we just don't know where this offense stands. I think the strength of this offense is really in the running game with Derrick Henry. And so I'm going to go with Marvin Jones this week.
Yeah, I'm going to have to disagree with you on that one. I think Marvin Jones is coming off that hot week. Makes it very attractive, but I think you still got to cool it off on Marvin Jones. After all, my week 1 waiver ad was Danny Amendola. Same team. Hopefully not the same result in the week after. So with that, I'm going to say Corey Davis. I think he's your guy this week. The Titans have had some quarterback issues, but they still have to throw the ball to somebody. Corey Davis is the number 1 option out there, despite having a rough start of the season. But Marvin Jones was just as bad to start the season, really. So I think I think Davis here is a good pick. Neither one of his defenses is really, really good. Nobody to write home about here. So I think Davis is the pick here, but I could see either one of these guys having very good weeks. And our man Bryce sides with our man Marvin Jones. But I like my Corey Davis pick.
Yeah, just with the Tampa Bay defense, just one note. They showed some flashes early in the season, but they kind of trailed off after that, so maybe they find it again against this Titans. Who knows? Not a big fan of the Titans offense, but Marvin Jones hasn't been great. So, toss up for me, but Marvin Jones is my guy, as I said this week.
The Buccaneers did let the Giants beat them already as well, so.
That's true.
Anyway, next question comes from a 10-team PPR league. Hold on to your hats. We got a few options coming at you. It's a pick 2 of these wide receivers question. They have Courtland Sutton, whose Denver Broncos are going into Indianapolis to take on the Colts. John Brown, who's going up against the Eagles this week. Brandon Cooks going up against the Bengals, and sort of the other side of that Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp kind of trio out there. Yep. Corey Davis, as before, going up against Tampa Bay, or Tyler Boyd, who's the counterpart to Brandon Cooks, basically across the field.
Yeah, so for me, this is a pretty good question, actually. Got a lot of good options in here. I'm just going to start off by saying Corey Davis should not be on this list. He is a tier below these guys, clearly for me, this week and for the rest of the season. So Corey Davis is out for me. But with the other 4, The two I'm going to go with are John Brown, and I think I'm going to go Cortland Sutton this week. Just for John Brown, he's been solid so far this season. Josh Allen has shown that he has improved in the passing game to supplement his run game. And of course, when you're playing Philadelphia and you have an outside receiver, you kind of got to play that guy. If you saw what Amari Cooper did last week, of course, Stephon Diggs the week before, this Philly secondary is definitely struggling this season. So I think John Brown's your top guy out of these five. And like I said, Cortland Sutton's next. He is now clearly the number one target in Denver after Emmanuel Sanders was shipped to the 49ers. So yeah, he was having a great season before the Emmanuel Sanders trade. Now it's pretty much his wide receiving core. So he seems to have a pretty solid connection with Joe Flacco, and he's been solid so far this season. So Cortland Sutton and John Brown for me. Just one more note on Cortland Sutton. They're playing Indy, so Indy has been a better team than most people think. So I think Indy's going to get ahead in this game. I think Denver's going to have to throw to catch up or to stay in the game. So for me, John Brown and Cortland Sutton are my two this week.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Sutton there. Then it's tough because I agree that Corey Davis is on kind of a lower level. Brandon Cooks, I'm also a little less eager to pick him because I feel like those Rams do have a lot of receiving options, even if the Bengals defense is really bad. Because theoretically, like we've talked about Robert Woods and Brandon Cooks here, but Cooper Kupp could just go off and have a 45-point week while these guys are left with basic like goose eggs average weeks.
I mean, same thing. You could say the same thing about Brandon Cooks, though. He's one of the biggest, of course, boomer bust guys. He could just take off one play, an 80-yard touchdown, and he's made your week right there. So he's a boomer bust guy. But
that's true. But
I don't want to cut you off.
I kind of like a little bit of a higher floor for these questions. So I'm gonna agree with you and go John Brown. The Philadelphia Eagles are really in bad shape as of right now. Their team they seem off. Their defense is awful, and they're having like problems about trying to side. Have you heard their meeting issues?
No.
Somebody reported that some inside source on the Eagles reported that players are showing up late to meetings these days, and there's a lot of. They claim that things are a little too lax in Philadelphia right now.
I'm sure they are.
I don't think that's great. I think Doug Peterson's got to rein them in there, so those Eagle fans can fly a little higher. But I'm going to agree with you. Cortland Sutton and John Brown, and Bryce via the telegraph has let us know that he agrees with us as well.
Another clean sweep with this pick too. And just one note on Tyler Boyd. He's also not a bad option this week. The Rams have shown that they're not a great defense. And he's actually top 5 in the NFL, in the entire NFL in targets. So he's getting a lot of the work. It's just tough with this offense. And I guess the reason that I didn't pick him, and probably the reason you guys didn't pick him, is just he's going to have some time on Jalen Ramsey, who, of course, is a great corner, just got traded to the Rams. So that's why we're kind of staying away from Tyler Boyd this week.
Do they count all of Andy Dalton's throwaways as targets for Tyler Boyd?
Maybe, but that's a lot.
That's what I'm saying. Could be a little inflated.
That would be a lot of targets for Tyler Boyd.
All right, the last question for today. Another 12-team PPR league. Wide receiver 2 question. A lot of wide receiver issues this week. The running back, I think, picture in general seems to be pretty standard.
Yeah.
It's pretty obvious who you're starting there in most instances, I think. But anyway, in this question, we have a wide receiver 2 issue. Mohamed Sanu, whose Patriots, the new Patriot, his Patriots are taking on the Cleveland Browns. Jarvis Landry, whose Browns are going up against the Patriots in New England. Robert Woods, appearing here yet again, going up against the Bengals we talked about. And Dorsett, yet another Patriot, going up against Cleveland this week.
Cleveland, yeah. So 2 Patriots wide receivers on this list, of course, Mohamed Sanu, the new arrival, just got traded a couple days ago. But for me, I think out of these 4, I think it's Robert Woods. I think has the highest floor out of these guys, especially in a PPR league. He's going to get a lot of receptions, a lot of yards. He might not get a touchdown, but I think he's got that high floor that you're looking for from your wide receiver too. And as we said, he's playing in Cincinnati, not a good team. I just think that the Rams are going to pretty much have their way with the Cincinnati defense. So Robert Woods for me is right there. And I guess between these 2 Patriots wide receivers, I think I'm going to lean towards Philip Dorsett. Of course, in New England, first wide receiver is clearly Julian Edelman, and I think Philip Dorsett's kind of established himself as the wide receiver 2 for now. Sanu's still got to come in. He's still got to learn the offense a little bit. Dorsett's had a year and a bit by now to really learn this offense. So for me, Philip Dorsett is higher than Mohamed Sanu out of these Patriots running backs.
So at the end of the season, I'm sure Tom Brady, when he's in bed, he doesn't count sheep. He counts touchdowns.
Yeah, he does.
And it'll probably be after he had another Super Bowl victory. But he'll be thinking about all of his touchdowns from this year. And he has one standout touchdown to somebody who's no longer on the roster, and as a matter of fact, no longer in the NFL. Do you know who that is?
This year?
Yes.
No.
Antonio Brown.
Oh.
But Antonio Brown showed that you can come into the Patriots offense and score as a wide receiver. I think they're going to do the same with Mohamed Sanu. Bill Belichick is going to like this new option in his offense, and I think Sanu is the pick here. The Browns defense, at the best case scenario for the Browns, this game just turns into a total shootout. Where kind of OBJ and maybe even Jarvis Landry are going up against, the Patriots' multifaceted receiving core. Which includes both Sanu and Dorsett at this point. But I like Sanu. I think that maybe Tom Brady, like a kid, right after they get that new toy from the toy store, is going to want to take out Mohamed Sanu and really kind of use him in the offense a little bit. Maybe give him a few red zone targets. I think I like Mohamed Sanu with that pick. Robert Woods, I think, gives you a little bit too much variance for me. And Jarvis Landry going up against that Patriots defense that has just been fantastic this year.
I think it's tough to start Jarvis Landry. And actually, just a note on Odell. I think he's tough. I think I have him ranked. Week. Yeah, I have Odell ranked outside my top 15 this week. So tough week for Odell coming off the bye. But I guess I see your point about Mohamed Sanu. They're going to try to get him involved early. But I don't think you can compare Mohamed Sanu to Antonio Brown. Let's be real. Mohamed Sanu is a big guy. He potentially will get some red zone targets, but he is nowhere close to the talent that Antonio Brown is. So I don't think it's going to be as forced to Sanu as it was to Antonio Brown. As I said, my pick's Robert Woods. Looks like you're going with Sanu.
Mohamed Sanu has a job, though. Good as Antonio Brown may be.
You can be good on the field and not good in your head, not good with your decision making, but we don't have to get into that. And to break this tie, it looks like Bryce from New York sent us Robert Woods. So he's agreeing with me. Mike's on an island this week alone.
Yeah, the New York, New Jersey tri-state area. Tri-state area with what? Connecticut, I think, is the other state in there. But yes, Bryce is at home this weekend. We miss him. We miss the enthusiasm. But yeah, Bryce and I really seem to be working on the same page this week.
Yeah.
I like to be a little bit more constrained with my thoughts. So that's why, if you want some outside of the box advice, you come to me.
Hey, he agreed with you on Mike Williams. I'm alone on the O.J. Howard train this week.
That's true. That's a very lonely train.
Oh, yeah.
Not a lot of fantasy points on that train.
Not a great train to be on. Midnight train going anyway on that O.J. Howard train.
Oh, boy, now we have a Detroit Red Wings fan with us.
No. Bruins for life.
All right. Anyway, that'll wrap up our Week 8 Start-Sit segment from Amer and Mike. This has been Between the 20s. See you next time.